Okay, so first I'm going to insert. I'm going to import image. And I have the plans here. It's too big, so I have to make the section like that. Remember that I created this reference plane. This is the section detail. Okay, so the detail that I have here is on that reference plane. Okay, so the detail is going to be there, but since we're going to work with this part of the building, so yeah, so make sure that we are not interfering with this reference plane. Okay, so we have the reference plane there. And now we are going to deal with this part of the building. We will have a section. Actually, the section of, okay, let's do this. Because the section that we created is the section of this part of the building. Okay, so we have the, yeah, after this is the computer lab. This is where we are here. So the section belongs to this part of the building. So if we have this reference plane here, this is where the actual section that we created is. Okay, so that's fine. But now we're going to deal with this part of the building. So make sure that your reference plane is not here, is not interfering with the area that we are going to study now. And the first thing, we have to create grid lines. Okay, so the first grid line, go to architecture, grid lines. So the first grid line is this, number 1. It starts here. And we can go all the way up. So that would be grid line number 1. Is there a relationship between grid line 1 and this? I can tell. Okay, so let's. No, apparently this goes like here. Okay, so that is grid line number 1. We have grid line number 2. We have 2.5, 2.6. Well, there are small structural elements here, but we are going to stick to grid line 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay. Okay, so let's copy this one to number 2 here. And then copy this one to number 3 there. Okay. Now we have to scale the drawing, and that's why I need to look at the dimensions, because the distance, we don't have a clear distance between grid 2 and 3. Okay, so I'm going to create grid 3 and 4, and for sure the distance between 3 and 4 is 34. 34? Yeah, 34 feet. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to copy this one, copy to grid 4 here. And grid 3. Like that. So now I have to take the distance. So annotate, aligned, and the distance between this and that is 29. It has to be 34. Okay. So how can we do it? Remember, architecture, model line. We start here and we need to go 34 feet away. Okay, so now we have to scale everything. I have to select the drawing, and I'm going to select the grid lines and click. Interesting, I can't scale here. Why the hell? Oh, okay. So the grid lines are, I can't select, I can't scale grid lines. Okay, so I have to select the drawing, and then I will have to change the grid lines accordingly. So I select the drawing, click scale. This is the first point. This is the second point, and the third point is that one. Okay. So now if I move this grid line number 4 here, this would be 34 feet. Okay, so that's what I need. I need that the distance between grid 3 and grid 4 is 34 feet. Hello. And now I have to change the rest of the grid line. So I have to move this here. And then number 2, I have to move it there. Okay. I could check the actual distance between 1, 2, but this is what really matters. Okay, so between 3 and 4, we have 34 feet, and yeah, so now it works well. Now I have to work with the horizontal grid lines. So in horizontal grid lines, we have A, B, C, D, E, F. Okay, so I have to figure out. It's difficult to tell. Let me look at the dimensions. Okay, the A grid line is here and B is there. Okay, so we have 2 structural elements, this one and that one. So this is grid A and grid B. We have some grid lines here in the middle, but we're not interested in that, only A and B. So where can we find that? Yes, so apparently there's a structural element here. Yes, so I'm going to go to grid lines, and yeah, I'm going to select this as grid A. Okay. And now, yeah, so here grid B, it's pretty easy to understand because grid B is going to be here. Okay, so that's grid line number, grid line B. Grid line C is here. That's C. And apparently there's another grid line where this structural element is. This is D. Okay. Look at this. So grid D starts here, but then we have this tilted line. So, but in our case, the line that matters is this, and this is grid D. And then there's a grid E, but I don't think we're going to need it. And grid F, that we don't need it. Okay. So this is the basic thing that we have to do. We have to understand the structural elements, and then we can start modeling the building. So, and we have a reference, and the reference is that the distance between grid 3 and 4 is 34 feet. And now I assume that the distance between A, B, C, and D is the same, but it's hard to tell because yeah, there are a lot of middle lines there, and well, we don't. Okay. What's next? So let's look at the 3D view. Now in the 3D view, we have grid lines, and we have this thing here. Oh, okay, levels. Now we have to look at the section because we need we need to know the levels. So we have to open, let's open, it's not here. Okay, so we can open this section, section 1. And here we will have information about the levels. So that's weird because we don't start with level 0. We start with this level 475, 2.5 inches. Okay. And the second level is 489, 2.5 inches. So what is the difference between 489 and 475? 489 minus 475. This is 14. Okay, so the distance between the ground level and the first floor level is 14 feet. Okay, so we can go to the Revit file, and this is not 10, it's gonna be 14. And let's call this level 14. Okay, so we have level 0, then we have level 14. And then what's the next one? It's 503 minus 489. It's 14. Okay, perfect. So that would be level 28. And I get rid of level 3 because I don't think we need it. And I call this level 28. Okay. So now I think we have the right distance between grid lines and we have the right levels. To fix this, because we have the grid lines here, we have the levels there. How can we fix that? We can fix it with the scope box. So remember that when we have a scope box and we connect all the elements to the scope box, the file looks nicer. We don't have these levels here and grid lines there, so everything will be. So let's go to view, scope box, not section box, the scope box. Let's make the scope box like this. Okay. Now we go to the 3D view. We have to make sure that the scope box is including all the levels. And now we only have to select the grid lines. Select the scope box that we have created. So now all the grid lines are attached to the scope box. And the same thing with the levels. We select all the levels. We select the scope box. Okay, so now everything looks nicer. And the levels, the grid lines, everything is related to the actual size of the building. Okay, because we're going to model this part of the Revit screen. And now the levels and the grid lines are attached to, or are according to the actual size of the building. Okay, so let's keep going. Level 1. The most important part is always the structure. We have a metallic structure here. I think in dimensions, we can see this better. Okay, so there is a mix between round concrete columns and steel columns. Why is that? I don't know. But we have concrete columns. This column is thicker than this one, probably because we have more load in this element than in this element. Okay, we don't know yet, but we do know that we need steel and concrete columns. Okay, so at the intersection of grid lines, there is always a column, vertical element. It can be either steel or concrete. So let's do it. I don't think we have, if we go to structure, if we go to columns, we have this W shape. Okay, but we don't have a round concrete column. So we have to either go back to the file that we worked at the beginning of the basketball court, pick the elements there, copy, can do that, or we can insert. Okay, so let's do that. So we are going to insert family, and we have to go to, we have columns here. So there are two places or two folders. We have columns and we have structural columns. Okay, so let's do structural columns. I want concrete. So we have concrete rectangular. We don't have this kind of capital. We don't have this. So we have a round column. Yeah, we don't have a round column with the capital. We have this round column. Okay, so let's open. And now we have round columns. So if we are here, yeah, kind of, this looks good. And now Revit always, when it comes to columns, Revit always does something weird. Okay, so we have the column, the base level is level 1, but the base offset is not -9, and the top level is level 28. Okay, because the columns go from the floor to the roof, and we don't have a base offset, 0. There you go. Okay, so again, we have a round column, 12-inch, 1 foot, yeah. And it goes from level 1 to level 28, from the ground floor to the roof. Now, we can copy this column here. As you can see, this column is slightly thicker. Well, slightly thicker, it's way thicker. We can always do this. We can edit type. And if we duplicate, this is a 12-inch column. Let's make 18-inch column. 18 inches already in use. Really? Okay, we do have an 80. We have, okay, so we have different columns. We have 12, 18, and 24. We don't have to create a new one. So let's select 18. And yeah, I think apparently that looks better than this one. Okay, do we have any other concrete column? So this is a concrete one. Now you see that, well, the building is not matching. It's because I took a picture of the original plan, so the building is a little distorted. So now what matters is my grid line. Okay, so I'm going to copy this one here at this grid line. And do we have any other concrete? Yeah, in grid line 5, but we're not going to model grid line 5. We're going to stop at grid line 4. So apparently there's another concrete column here and there. Okay, so let's copy here and there. And apparently, yes. Okay, so we have these concrete columns. This seems thinner than this, but doesn't matter. But we have a concrete column here on grid 4. This is steel, so we're not going to copy this one. So let's copy concrete columns where the concrete columns are in the original file. And now we need to insert steel columns for this, okay? So that's a steel, and this is steel, and this is steel. What could be the criteria for either concrete columns or steel columns? Probably the fire safety, because if we have exposed steel columns, we have to protect them against fire. So you see that the columns that are in the facade, we have this element. So the drywall is wrapping the column, because the drywall is gypsum and it's a fire resistant material. With concrete, we don't have this issue because concrete, again, it's a fire resistant material. So the problem is with the exposed steel columns. So if we have steel columns, we have to protect the column. So if we have a column in the middle of a space, having a round column, it's pleasant because we don't have corners and we don't get hurt if we hit the column, okay? Or at least we. So that's why when we have interior columns, exposed interior columns, they should be round. And if they are round, probably the best option is concrete. But when they are hidden in the facade, we have steel column, and we are wrapping this with a drywall. So that might be the criteria. I don't know why they did it, but let's stick to the original file. So we have steel here. We're going to insert structure column, and here we have some W. Okay, let's try this W10 1049 and see what it looks like. Again, this is here. So the top level is 28. The offset is 0. There you go. Okay. So let's copy this where we have steel columns. Copy. There's a steel column here. And another steel column there. And anything else? I think this is it. Yep. Okay, so now we have this structure, round concrete columns. This W1049. Yep. Okay, we don't have anything else. Next, we have the vertical structure. Now we would need the horizontal structure. We need a floor first. In the first place, we need a floor. So we can trace the floor here, the outline of the floor. As you can see, the outline of the floor is away from the structural lines, okay, because all this wall is not affecting the structure. So the structure is not breaking the wall. That's good because we are not affecting the thermal insulation. Okay, so you see that the wall goes beyond the structural line. So the thermal insulation of the wall is not affected by the structural element. Okay, so that's good on the thermal insulation front. And since we're not going to model the whole building, let's go to architecture, floor. And we're going to trace the outline of this. Okay, so let's start here. And let's go this way. Here, okay, so that's the the staircase that we have over there. So I'm going to trace that staircase. And yeah, the floor shape here, it has this angle. That's the entrance. Yeah, apparently this is 45 degrees. Okay, so if something looks like 45 degrees, probably it's 45. And this is not 45 at all. This, I don't know what the angle is this, but okay, we can keep tracing. And yeah, we go up to this point and we close. Okay, so we're not going to model the whole building, so just stop here. And you will go to the 3D view. That would be the floor to the building. So that's the ground floor. Now we have to model the first floor, and okay, so that's this is the second floor when we are where we are now. That's the computer lab, and that's the grid space here. So we have this shape here. It's an overhang. So the structural line is there, and there's an overhang here. There's another beam there. On this first floor, we have the projection of this. That's this dashed line is the projection of the second floor. So if we're going to work with the second floor, we're going to follow this pattern. I'm going to use wireframe so that I can trace this. And I'm going to create a second floor. But now the level is not level 1, it's going to be level 14. Okay, so on level 14, I can trace the same floor slab that I created here. Every time we have this dashed line is the projection of the second floor. So if I'm designing now the second floor, I'm going to trace the dashed line. Here I continue the staircase. And now I can trace this dashed line. Okay, I don't mind if it's not exactly the same. Yeah, we can do that. And then on that level, we have the floor. Okay. And finally, we're going to create the roof. So the roof, I think, it has the same shape as the second floor. Yeah, it makes sense. Okay, so the second floor, if the second floor has these overhangs here, the roof, it has exactly the same shape. So how can we do that? I can go back to level 1 and I can go to architecture roof. But now it's not level 14, it's not level 1. I have to select level 28. Okay, so I have to select the roof on level 28. And since I want the same outline as I have in, okay, that's weird. No, I'm not going to do it in level 1. Let's open level 14. Yeah, so on level 14, I have the footprint of this second floor. And now I'm going to create the roof in this view. So go to architecture, roof. select level. We want level 28. And now I can just pick lines. Okay, so I'm going to pick lines here because I want to create the roof following the outline of the second floor. What's some lines overlap? Okay, so if I did something wrong here. Okay. Well, look at this. If I click OK, something terrible will, well, something terrible. We will have this kind of roof. Okay, but this is not the case. So remember that I have to edit the footprint, select everything, and do we don't have to define the slope, and now we have a flat roof. Okay, so ground floor, and then the second and the roof, they have the same footprint. And yeah, I think that's it. Now we have to look at the section because the section, look at this, okay? So we have the floor level. So on the floor level, we have a slab, and apparently this is the footing. Okay, so it's a weird footing because it's not, well, it's not, they're not piles, but apparently they have to go deep down to find the rock or the solid ground. So I don't know, we can try to create this kind of footings, okay? But this footing is underneath the slab level, okay? So you see that this is the floor slab, and then we go down with the footing. So what would be this distance? Let's say 1 foot. Okay, let's do that. And I don't know if this is an isolated footing or we have like a wall, a perimeter wall around the building. I'm not sure about that. This is reinforced structural concrete grade beam. Okay, so this is a grade beam. So it's not an isolated footing, it's a grade beam. So apparently they needed all this surrounding the building. Okay, so let's gonna, we don't have dimensions, but it looks like we can have like 5 or 6, 5 foot, because if this is a person, this can be like 4 or 5 feet depth, and the width, it can be like 3 feet, something like that. Okay, so let's do it. Anyway, we have to create a level. Let's, okay, this floor is 12 inches, it's 1 foot. Okay, that's fine. So now we're going to copy this level here. And now that level will be -1. Going to name it level -1. So if we're in level 1 now, I want to create that footing all around the building. We don't have a wall. So what can I do? Yeah, we don't have a wall, so we can't create wall footings. So if we go to structure, I think the best option would be a beam. We're going to select a concrete beam. We don't have concrete beams. Okay, so let's insert family. We have structural columns. the beams are in this category, structural framing. So if we go to structural framing concrete, we have a concrete rectangular beam. So let's use it, concrete beam. And I'm going to edit type, and I'm going to duplicate, and I'm going to create a beam that was here. Yeah, so let's say 5 by 3 feet. Okay, so the depth is 5, the width is 3. So let's make it 3 feet by 5. Okay, so now the age is the height or the depth. So I'm going to make it 5 foot, 5 feet. And the B dimension is going to be 3 feet. Apply, okay. And let's do it. So now I have to create the outline of the first floor, okay? Because now we are not interested in the overhangs, because now we are dealing with the first floor. So I'm going to create that beam here up to this point. And let's see what I have done. Yep, I think it's correct. Oh, no, it's not correct because the reference level is level 1 and it has to be level -1. So I'm going to edit the work plane and the reference level, it's level -1. Yep. So now the beam is underneath the slab. Okay, so now I have to continue. Okay, yeah, I have to continue the floor shape, probably including this here, all the way up to that place. Okay, so let's go to level 1 again. And I'm going to hide these hiding view elements. And I'm going to extend the view range up to level -1, level below. Okay, so now I can see the shape of the beam. And now I can keep going, structure, beam, and I can trace the outline of this. And now, if I look at the section, I think, yeah. Okay, that's interesting. So the slab is here. I think the beam is lined up with the exterior wall. And my exterior wall line was this. Okay, so I'm going to align the beam and the slab. Okay, so can I do this? And can I trim these two things? Yeah, well, there's something weird here, but okay. Um, what I want is just the section. Okay, so when I get the section from at this point, I will get the slab and then the beam. Okay, but I made the same mistake again. I have to select all beams, filter, structural framing, and the work plane. I have to edit the work plane, and the work plane is always level -1. There you go. Okay, so I think we're good because if we take a section, we will see the beam, then the slab, and then the wall, and then the second floor slab, and finally the roof deck. I'm going to draw a section line. If we unhide in view this, because the section line is going to be through this. Okay, so I'm going to view section, and the section line is going to be here, looking this side. Okay, if I open section 2, this is what I have to look. Yeah, so that's what I see. I see the beam, the floor slab, and that's the overhang that I have there. Okay, so now we are dealing with the horizontal structure of this element. So this is pretty straightforward. We have to start the beam here, and then we have to go all the way. We interrupt the beam because, as we can see in those details, we have the concrete column. The concrete column is a continuous one, so we interrupt the beam here, and then we start with another beam there. And then we have this overhang. So let's do it. Structure, beam, we have a concrete, and then we have the W shape. Apparently, we only have this 12 by 26. I don't know if it's the right one, but let's see. So we go from this point to this point. We don't see anything. Why? First, because the level of detail is coarse, so we have to go to fine. And now here we see the actual beam. I want to look at, okay, so this is it. Where is the level? We have to edit the work plane because this is on level 14. Okay, so let's take a look at what we have done. And we have to take a look at this section. I'm going to create another section, view, section here. If we look at this, and we have more detail. Okay, so you see that the beam is there. So that's not what we want. We want the beam to be underneath the floor slab. That floor slab is 12 inches. Okay, so let's start talking about dimensions now, because this is the generic floor. But now I think we have to look at the section. So look at this, okay? So that's the metal deck. And those are the beams that we're dealing with. So that's the steel beam connecting the columns. There's another steel beam here, and that's the depth of this deck. So it's a 5-inch concrete slab or steel deck with concrete slab. So this is only 5 inches. And our floor is 12. So I think we should select, we don't have it. Okay, so we have this concrete on metal deck. So let's click this one. And that makes more sense. Okay, because if we edit type, we have default thickness 5 inches. That makes sense. I'm sure that those guys, they are using Revit and they have used the Revit elements, so they haven't created a new family, whatever. Okay, so probably they are using this. So this is the metal deck. It's 5-inch. So this is the kind of floor that they have used. But this beam should be underneath that metal deck. We look at this. Yes, you see that the beam is underneath that level. So what's the difference between the beam and the beam level and this? It should be 5 inches, because if this is a 5-inch concrete deck, then this has to be 5 inches down. And how can we do that? It's not about editing the work plane. We're on level 14. We can have a level, but we can, if we select the beam, we can do this with the start level offset and the end level offset. So if we go -5 with the start level and -5 with the end level, it's negative. What the hell is negative here? Okay, so I have to type negative before the 0, and now it works. Okay, so now it looks like this. And this is the structural steel with spray applied for fireproofing, okay? But it doesn't give any information about the size or the height of that beam. Probably there's if we go to the call out, we will find information about that. Let me see if we go to the detail. We have the beam here, but again, we don't have any information about that beam. So we don't know. Okay, so we're not calculating the structure, but does it look like, I don't know. We can always edit that beam. We can edit type. And this is the clear web height is 10 inches. If you want to make it thicker, we can type here 12 inches. And I don't think it has changed. Oh, no, we have to do this. It's the width and the height. I'm going to do something here. Let's say 14, apply. Okay, yeah. So in this case, it's getting bigger. But now I screwed things up because now the start level, probably it has to be 6 inches and 6. Okay. It's not 6. It's 5.5 and 5.5. Not there yet. Let's say 5 and 1/4. We're getting there. Or even, you know what? I'm going to stick to the first beam. So I'm not going to change this because we don't have any information about that. And apparently, if we change the height of the beam, it will cause some inaccuracies. So we are going to keep this beam like that. Okay. So now what's next? We have to keep going. We have to keep creating all these beams, but at this level, okay? So if we go to level 14 now, what can we do? There should be like a grid of beams. Let's go to structure, beam. So now we have to connect this one and that one, and we have to connect this and that. And now we're going to connect that one and that one. But now we should select all the beams. I'm going to filter structural columns. Structural frame, okay. And now the start level, I think it was -5 inches. And this has to be -5 inches. So now all the beams are at the right level. Okay. So now I have to keep going with the rest of the beams. Can we copy? If we have exactly the same dimensions, we can copy, but I don't think it's the case yet. So we can't keep copying. What about this, by the way? Let me. Okay, we have a column here. Makes sense. And we don't have any columns there. So let's keep going. I'm going to go to beam again. And now I'm going to go up to this point, see what it does. So it has a continuous beam. No, I don't like it. So I'm going to model this beam here. And this beam here. And this one here. And well, there will be another one. I don't know where the next column is going to be, but go this way. This way. And here we must have an overhang getting up to, say, this point. So now again on the 3D view, but I'm going to trace all beams and then I will select all of them and change the height. I'm not sure what's going on here. Okay, so probably we don't have a structural element here and we might need some. Let's see. Yep, I think there's another column here, but we don't know. Okay, I'm going to make up this because I don't have enough information. So on level 1, yeah, probably all these grid lines that we have here is for secondary structural elements that I don't have. So I'm going to place a structural column here, okay, at the intersection between a grid number 2 and this floor, and then another column there. Oh, there's still one. See? Yeah, but I need something structural here. Okay, I'm going to place that column there. Okay, we'll go to the 3D view. We need, and I think if we go to that area, we will find that there's a concrete round column here. And then, yeah, I think so. There's a concrete column there. And all these can be an overhang. Yes. And then we can have another column there. Okay. So let's assume that this is the case. So I'm going to keep going with the beams from this one to that one. And now another one here. And there. I'm going to move this here. And here. Here. There. And now Don't worry, when I figure it out, I will explain it to you, but let me figure it out first. Okay. Yes, I'm making things up because there are things here that I don't understand well, but it doesn't matter. Okay, what matters now is that in this second floor, we have beams connecting all the structural elements or the columns, and then we have overhangs. When we have this shape, especially, we have overhangs here. So the overhang, we have to extend that beam until the edge of this slab, and we have to extend that beam until the edge of that slab. And I think it will work. And here, look at this. Here we have a corner that is floating. This doesn't work. So at some point, I'm going to need something structural here on this corner. So I wonder where that structural element might be. Mentions. Yeah, there's something here. Okay, yeah, now so we have this grid A5 and this grid 2.5. Yeah, so that's why we need these two grid lines, A5 and 2.5, because there's a tiny structural element there. Okay, so where the hell is that in our Revit file? It's here, this one. Okay, so I'm going to place that beam, copy. I'm going to place it here and now see what it looks like. Yeah. Okay, so at some point we will have a beam here. And now on the 14th level, there will be a connection. We can go to beam. Okay. Okay, I'm going to do it again because now I have when I created all the beams, they are not at the right level. So I created all the beams on the floor plan, but now I have to move them, all of them underneath the concrete slab. So I think the best way is to use the 3D view, something like that. I select everything, I filter. So I have to select everything that is structural framing. I don't have to select the floor, apply. And now I can change the start level, -5 inches, and the end level, -5 inches of all the beams. And now it looks good because all the beams are underneath the slab. The good news is that the roof is the same. So can I copy the framing to the roof. Let's find out. I filter. I don't select the floors. I apply. And if we work with the front view, I can select copy. Probably I have to go from this level to the bottom of that level, and it works. Okay, so it takes time to figure out how to do it but if the roof is the same as the second floor, then we can copy the whole structure.